Hi, this video is being recorded for the students who are preparing for the OET Speaking subtest. I'm going to be discussing about different features which can maximize your score in the OET Speaking module. In the assessment criteria, intelligibility deals with impact of features like tone, intonation, the pitch that you use, and fluency, which is the rate of your delivery. And why are these important? Because the words or the content that you use are just one part of the assessment criteria. So that's appropriateness of language. But you also need to work in certain vocal qualities which are equally important. Right, so these are the vocal qualities that I've listed on, which you need to develop awareness about and then work on them. The first one is volume. The second is rate. The third is pitch. Fourth is fluency. The fifth is articulation, and the sixth is tone. And they're all crucial, and for good reason, because each quality acts in harmony with each other so that your listener is attentive to what you're saying, it keeps them engaged, and it facilitates their understanding. Right, so let's come to volume. Now, volume is how loud or how soft your voice sounds. It's how loudly or softly you speak. And generally speaking, the volume that you choose, it depends on many factors. For example, the venue where you're speaking, the amount of people you're talking to, and even the content to some extent. In OET speaking, the best advice I can give you is to keep your voice at a mid-range. That's not too loud, because you don't want to sound too overbearing or brash. On the other hand, if you do not want to sound too soft either, because this might indicate that you're unsure or weak of what you're saying. So pitch sort of works the same way. It is the high and low frequency of your voice. And if I had to give you an example, think of it like this. Singers hit high notes and low notes depending on the lyrics. In OET speaking, when you're speaking to a patient or a patient's family member, that's probably not a good time to use a high pitch. A low pitch tells your listener that you're talking about something serious. Next, we come to rate and fluency. They're sort of interrelated, and I'm going to explain each. Now, rate is how fast or how slow you speak. And the problems with both speaking too fast and speaking too slow. If you're speaking too fast, your listener may not understand every word, and that will affect their comprehension. A slow rate might indicate that you're uninterested or you're unprepared. So when you're preparing for the exam, it's a good idea to undertake practice to speak at a moderate rate and take intended pauses. And fluency is the flow of your words. And of course, it has a profound impact on the listener and the meaning that you want to convey. Now, while I'm on the subject of fluency, I want to discuss about intended and unintended pauses. Intended pauses are the purposeful stops that we take to transition between different ideas and thoughts. However, the unintended pauses are those which are until hesitancies. For example, some people just stop abruptly when they're speaking. The others which use verbal fillers like or duh or to their speech. And truth be told, I have made these mistakes as well. So I tend to use a lot when I'm speaking. But these days, I'm making a conscious effort. I'm on my verbal filler radar at all times. I'm making a conscious effort to use only intended pauses wherever necessary to emphasize the meaning. And if I feel that I'm about to use a filler, I opt for a pause instead. Now, the next is articulation. Articulation is speaking clearly. It's how clearly you speak. Suppose you hear somebody who says wanna rather than want to, or says gonna rather than going to. To me, it indicates that that person comes across as lazy. And since it's an exam, I think you should make a conscious effort to speak clearly and complete words. One way to overcome poor articulation is to practice tongue twisters, and that works for me. So on your screen, I've listed out 2 tongue twisters, which you can practice with yourself or with your friends, and they will definitely help. And finally, last but not the least, of course, I'm going to discuss about tone. Now, tone is like setting the mood for your speech. It's used to express emotions or feelings. You must have heard of the famous saying, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. So that sort of is what tone is all about. In OET speaking, you should avoid something which is very upbeat, because upbeat tones are used for something that's wildly exciting. So you need to modulate your tone to match the cue card that you have. Let's say you are empathizing with a patient. You need to use a lower tone to convey that, yes, you understand the seriousness of the situation, you validate the concerns, and so on. And you also need to practice how to sound assertive when you're giving advice. So this was just an overview about the vocal qualities. I'm going to be discussing them in detail in the following videos. And to sum it up, I will just say that content, or the words that you use, is just one part of your delivery. Today you learned that there's several other factors to consider that have nothing to do with the actual words that come out of your mouth. If you're a nurse and you're preparing for the OET exam, I suggest that you buy this book written by me. It's available on Amazon. It's titled OET Speaking and Writing Made Easy for Nurses. It has 12 full-length speaking role plays and 10 writing tasks with sample answers. It's also got some tips and strategies which will help you to maximize your score in the exam. So yes, this is something I recommend to all OET aspirants. And if you're looking for feedback or online training, my contact details are listed on the screen. Thank you for your time.